The last several years, our great state has been hit with an unprecedented level of natural disasters. Across the Black Summer bushfires of 2019-2020 to the La Niña floods of 2021-22 to where more than 30 residents of New South Wales lost their lives. New South Wales lost more than 8,000 homes directly to fire and flood during that period. Infrastructure losses totalled more than $4 billion. Now, experts tell us that with climate change, we can expect more, not less, extreme weather events over the coming years. That means more floods, more bushfires, more damaging storms, more extreme heat for Western Sydney and our regions. I need to tell you that in 2023, the total funding for fire and rescue was $1.1 billion, and that was just for a single year. The RFS, $800 million annually. The State Emergency Services, over $400 million. Funding for these three emergency services is 19% higher than it was in 2022 and a massive 75% bigger than it was in 2016. The New South Wales Treasury expects the cost of natural disasters to increase from $5 billion in 2020 to at least $16 billion in real dollars by 2060. So as you can see, these costs are astronomical and climbing and are funded by the fact that New South Wales is the only state in Australia to fund its emergency services by taxing insurance. This tax on insurance means that our state has the second highest average rate of insurance for businesses and households after hurricane-prone Queensland. It represents a massive disincentive to taking out insurance. And at a time when the incidence of natural disasters is increasing and the costs of recovery are blowing out, this state has the highest proportion of uninsured homes of any jurisdiction in the country at 17.5%. To put that in perspective, Victoria's uninsured rate is just 11% and South Australia's single digits at 9%. The bottom line is this: we need households and businesses to take out insurance. When a natural disaster hits, put frankly, the state does not have the funds to fully ensure a city or a suburb is reconstructed without those businesses in that town taking out insurance. As bad as the situation is today, worryingly, 70% of households report that affordability is the main barrier to having adequate home insurance cover for their house, and 9% of households who are insured today intend on decreasing that insurance or getting rid of their policy altogether in the next 12 months. This state's tax on insurance throws up this perverse incentive whereby the tax on insurance becomes too expensive, therefore fewer people take out insurance, therefore the cost of insurance increases and is borne by an even smaller number of insurance holders who have to pay more. And then the cycle is repeated over and over again. The situation is also bad for business. According to Business New South Wales, with their business conditions survey in May, the cost of insurance is the number one concern, for businesses in New South Wales today. The reason for that is the cost is 14% up over the last 12 months, which is nearly triple the rate of inflation, faster than both energy and housing. Now, there's a well-known joke about a tourist in Ireland who asks one of the locals for directions to Dublin, and the Irishman replies, "Well, sir, if I were you, I wouldn't start from here." So we're determined to do something about it, notwithstanding the fact that this is where we are. I can announce today that the government will remove the emergency service levy from insurance and apply it instead to property in the state. This is in recognition that natural disasters affect everyone in New South Wales, and there's a collective benefit in having fully funded, well-prepared, well-resourced emergency services. The New South Wales Treasurer, Daniel Mookie, will lead consultation with industry and stakeholders on this important reform, and we will, of course, ensure adequate time to design the system that is both fair and workable. But the changes will have the following principles. Number one, there will be an insurance monitor established to ensure that those companies, those insurance companies, do not keep insurance high once the tax has been removed, and heavy penalties will apply to any that do. The state will not collect a single extra dollar as a result of the changes. It will be completely revenue neutral. We'll learn from the mistakes of the previous government's attempts at this reform and ensure that we're investigating all potential methods of measuring the value of a property, not just the unimproved value of the land. And like other states, there will be protections inserted for pensioners who may not currently pay insurance on their property. Until this model has been finalised, I can't give an exact figure on how much a typical family will benefit as a result of this change, other than to say a mortgage holder, and a mortgage holder must take out insurance as a condition of their loan, will pay less under these changes. And we believe this is fair for households, and we believe it's good for businesses. After all, fire engines turn up to your address whether or not you've taken out insurance, as it should. And the government completely understands that it's not as if anyone has elected to opt out of paying for fire protection. But with more natural disasters on the way, we need a sustainable model that can have us prepared for an uncertain future, prepare us for increased business investment and opportunities for Australian firms, firms from interstate and businesses from around the world who we want to do business right here in New South Wales. Friends, two nights ago, I had dinner with Erez, the owner of Shaffa Restaurant in Surrey Hills. You may have read about his restaurant in the media. Someone spread and sprayed horrific anti-Semitic graffiti on the front of his bar. Erez is an amazing man. He moved to this country from Israel 8 years ago. He's got an Argentinian wife, Clara, and a beautiful young boy named Timo. He put his life savings into that restaurant, as well as his heart and soul and every available working minute. It's a remarkable thing to see someone put everything they've got into a business on the other side of the world. But that's exactly the kind of people we attract to this beautiful city. Two things struck me about my conversation with Erez. Firstly, he was understandably in despair after hearing that vandalism and naked anti-Semitism had been sprayed across the front of his business. He believed that no one would want to go to that restaurant that had been targeted with that kind of offensive filth. He was amazed to discover that the exact opposite thing happened. The next night, the restaurant was packed. His city rallied behind him, bookings stacked up, and those who couldn't get a table bought a gift certificate instead. Secondly, hearing Erez's love for Sydney, his absolute astonishment at its beauties, which is undiminished even in the face of that despicable act of public racism. It struck a chord with me. Sometimes it takes someone who wasn't born and raised here to show us the city that they're seeing through their eyes, to understand what we live in each and every day. My government wants Sydney-siders to fall in love with this city all over again. But I'm convinced only change, thoughtful, considered and lasting, big and small, but change itself will help us do just that. From major infrastructure projects to subtle changes that benefit the culture, to making not much needed and long overdue tax reform. Change, as much as our natural beauty, is what makes Sydney great. So together, let's grasp the opportunity and live up to the daunting legacy of the ultimate change maker in our city's history, Dr. John Bradfield. Thank you so much, everybody.